Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. Chapter 8. The New King. When Miles and Edward arrived in London, they saw a crowd of people in the streets. There were flags on all of the buildings and a lot of noise everywhere. It was the 19th of February, and the next day was Coronation Day. Everyone was happy and excited. Miles and Edward were in the big crowd, and they soon got lost. They could not find each other anymore. Poor Edward was cold, hungry, and alone. Tom, on the other hand, was beginning to enjoy the royal palace, the beautiful new clothes, and the good food. Everyone bowed to him and listened to him, and he liked this. During his first days at the palace, he thought about his mother, sisters, and Edward. But as the days passed, he almost forgot about them, because he liked his wonderful new life. He was happy and comfortable. The next morning was the 20th of February, Coronation Day. Tom thought,
"Today, I'm going to become King of England. I'm going to wear splendid new clothes and jewels in the parade. Oh, this is wonderful!"
Soon, Tom Canty was splendidly dressed and riding a tall horse in the royal parade. Behind him, there were lords and rich gentlemen dressed in their best clothes. There was music in the air and thousands of happy people in the streets of London.
"Hooray for the new King of England!"
they shouted. Tom smiled and often threw new coins to the people. He felt important. Suddenly, he saw his mother in the big crowd. She touched his leg and cried, "Oh, my dear child!" A soldier pushed her away. Tom looked at her and said, "I don't know you, woman." His mother was very sad and disappeared in the crowd. After a moment, Tom thought, "Oh no, what did I say?" He felt terrible, and suddenly he was unhappy. The royal parade continued down the streets of London to Westminster Abbey. The church was full of people and beautifully decorated for the great day. At last, the Archbishop of Canterbury took the crown of England and lifted it over Tom's head. Everyone was silent. Suddenly, a young boy with no shoes and old, dirty clothes ran into the church.
"You're not the king! I'm the king!"
he cried. Everyone was surprised, and the people looked at each other.
"What's happening?"
asked one gentleman. "Who's that pauper? What does he want?" asked a lady. Lord Hertford quickly said,
"Soldiers, stop this boy."
Edward and Tom looked at each other for a moment.
"No,"
said Tom.
"Don't touch him. He is the real king."
Everyone was confused. Lord Hertford looked at the two boys and said,
"Look at their faces. They're identical. But who is our king?
He is the real king,
said Tom, smiling at Edward.
Ask him about the Great Seal.
Very well.
Said Lord Hertford.
Only the real king can answer this question. Where's the Great Seal?
Edward immediately said,
Look inside the old Italian suit of armour in my room. The Great Seal's there.
Lord Hertford sent Lord John to look for the Great Seal in the palace. When he returned, he said,
I found the Great Seal. Here it is. The pauper is right. He is the king.
The Archbishop of Canterbury put the crown of England on Edward's young head. Everyone in the church stood up and cheered.
Long live young King Edward!
Tom looked at the Great Seal and said,
I used it to crack nuts. I didn't know it was the Great Seal.
He used the Great Seal of England to crack nuts?
said Lord Hertford loudly.
How funny!
All the great lords laughed and laughed. The great ceremony ended and Edward became King Edward VI. The next day, Miles went to see his friend, King Edward VI. The young king was happy to see Sir Miles, who told him more about his problems with his brother Hugh.
You were kind and helped me, Sir Miles,
said the young king.
Now I will help you. You can go back to Hendon House because it's yours again. Your brother Hugh will give everything back to you.
Thank you, King Edward,
said Sir Miles happily. King Edward VI was a very good and kind king, because for those few days he was a pauper. He knew his people and understood their problems. Tom Canty was the king's best friend and lived in Westminster Palace. King Edward gave Tom's mother and sisters a lovely house in the country, and no one saw John Canty again. King Edward VI died when he was only 16. Tom was very sad and left Westminster Palace. He went to live with his mother and sisters in the country. Everyone remembered the young king for a long time because he loved all of his people, the rich and the poor.